Welcome back. In today's story, we will continue the story of a man telling a story about his messy, divorced with his cheating wife. In case you missed part one of this story, here's how it went down. A man discovers that his wife, after 16 years of marriage, is having a 2-year affair with her boss. Despite her denials, he gathers evidence with the help of the boss's wife. The man and his wife's affair partner are both served divorce papers at the same time, leading to a public confrontation at a hotel. The wife tries to justify the affair, but the husband, feeling betrayed, refuses to reconcile. Despite his children's hopes, the husband remains firm in his decision to divorce and move on, though his wife attempts to show remorse. The divorce is in process, with both parties fighting over their outcome. Now let's get right into the story. The boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates that. She thinks I'm going to have a revenge affair, or her boss's wife is the reason I will not give us another chance. She has asked me repeatedly to initiate no contact with her boss's wife, just like she did with her boss. I told her she's crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and why should I respect your opinions now? See, I think I'm done. I have no respect for her. She still doesn't want to give up and is actively trying to engage with me about her thoughts and processes to her affair. I see them as excuses, so I don't entertain her. She wants me to do therapy with her. I read many places where the therapist blames the victim, so I was like, hell no. She wants me to read infidelity books with her. What is the point if we're going to divorce anyway? She wants to be intimate. I told her she was not going to manipulate me with sex. She says it's not manipulation and she just wants to show me how much she loves me. I corrected her and said, "Love me now, you mean?" People around me are frustrated with me, even my mom, because they say people make mistakes, and my wife realizes through her mistakes that she truly does love me. I told people that I will never be anyone's fallback plan. I feel very bad for treating her the way I do. I still love her, even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel to her? She's trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People are saying I'm moving too quickly and I will regret it. Is that true? I don't know what's real and what's not. Firstly, my wife and I are in a sort of good place right now. It is not because we are reconciling. No, I'm still divorcing her. The short version of my current situation is my wife is still begging for another chance and is doing whatever it takes to get it. I will not give it to her because her affair was way too long for me to get over. If it had been a one-night stand, that would be a different story, but no. 2 years is just a slap in the face. I have gone to a few therapy sessions with her because I'm not a monster and still love her. One session was very good and made me understand that my wife is actually remorseful. She has not been perfect with how she handled the fallout of her affair, but she has been trying pretty damn hard. The second session was a mess of her upset at me for continuously contacting the boss's wife and her being afraid of a revenge affair. It was the angriest I ever was through this whole mess, and we did argue a great deal later because I refused to do what she wanted, which is no contact with the boss's wife. That was resolved when I promised her that there will be no revenge affair. I know I don't owe her anything, but she's still my wife until our divorce, and I still want to hold true to my commitments. I've been going to a few more sessions with her just to see her progress. Yes, this therapist is an individual and marriage therapist. No, I'm not going to these sessions because deep down I want to save our marriage. I want to see my wife's progress myself. If I have to, after the divorce, I will step away gracefully. The boss's wife is still leaving her husband. Her husband is still fighting her on the divorce. She is as adamant as I am, and I will admit we do confide in each other when we have low days. I still do not see any affair happening. We are just on friendly terms with each other, that's all. She is a strong and independent woman who takes no crap from anyone. My kids are fine. They know just because we're divorcing doesn't mean we love them any less. They don't want to divorce but understand why it's necessary for us in an age-appropriate manner. My wife doesn't work at the advertisement company anymore. She works elsewhere. She resigned shortly after I served her. She has been strictly no contact with her former boss, according to her. She reached out on forums to get help on saving the marriage and used that advice. I've been reading a lot here, and at first, I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers. But after seeing my wife work her butt off to be a better person, I can see the temptation. She's not a monster. She's just flawed and made horrible choices, which she's learning to be better from. She has offered me everything under the sun to be given another chance. I'm not so sure I have it in me. The closer the divorce comes to being final, the more at peace I feel. We recently had a long discussion of her asking to have a chance after divorce. She has offered a post-divorce relationship. I was not completely opposed to it, actually, but it would be a very, very long road for her to travel for me to even consider it a possibility. She seems quite willing, but I don't see how that would benefit any of us, to be honest. A huge part of me wants this divorce out of a fleeting sense of justice. It's the only justice I can get without lowering myself to an adulterer. My mom and I made up after I revealed more about my wife's affair, although now she's absolutely furious with my wife after learning the details. I don't know how to navigate that one. So, about the revenge affair. As many of you know, my wife is scared crazy about a revenge affair. The simple reason is because I'm still in contact and see the other woman. That I betrayed my wife. My wife is very insecure compared to other betrayed spouses. Is that how it's spelled? Other betrayed spouses are younger, a model, very attractive, and own a successful business. It makes my wife paranoid that I will give into temptation and cheat on her as revenge. I still cannot believe the nerve of her to give me the two wrongs don't make a right speech. Of course, she isn't wrong, and I don't intend to ever follow through, but her hypocrisy infuriates me every time. She gets extremely sad or extremely clingy at days gone by. I don't know how many times she has thrown herself at me just to make sure that I don't cheat on her back. I reject her attempts, and it only makes things worse. It absolutely blows me that cheaters are this selfish, only thinking about themselves and their pain, while the betrayed have to trudge along and try to pick up the pieces. Another thing, our kids still see their kids. I never go to the boss's house without my kids. But no, my wife still thinks I have it in me to be as heartless as she was and take any opportunity to bang his wife. Laughable. Oh, and the boss's wife told me that her betrayed spouse begging her to take him back. I'm not going to lie, it brings me a sense of great satisfaction to see him suffer the consequences. He has not tried to threaten me because of how much leverage I have on him. He has to deal with the fact that I'm still in contact with his wife. He is allowed to visit his kids anytime he wants, but doesn't want to see me, so he makes sure I'm not around and then visits. I pity the guy, honestly. Currently, my wife has been super apologetic. She has showered me with affection, which I simply brushed off. I'm not in a good place. We are having a therapy session today, and I feel like unloading all the pain and hurt I've had to endure because of her. The rage I feel is becoming overwhelming. During a recent therapy session with my wife, she requested that I give her a little more time for her to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea for me to at least try and see if I could participate in recovering our marriage, not necessarily reconciliation yet. I repeatedly brought up the fact that she was only trying now because of the fallout of her affair. She would never be trying if she was still seeing the boss. She emotionally abused me for months, and I'm not the type of person to get walked all over, even from the woman I loved. She acknowledged all of her wrongdoings and apologized once again. She has given me so many promises of making it up to me. She wants our marriage to grow stronger than ever before and believes it's possible. I asked her if she was willing to put up with my rage because I have plenty to spare. She was like, absolutely, and she would like me to unload on her whenever I feel like it, to help myself process the pain. Usually, when I asked her why she had an affair, I get a million excuses. This time, she was forthright and told me there was no excuse for what she did, and she would spend every day for the rest of her life showing me through her actions that she was truly remorseful and would never hurt me that way again. She acknowledged that the affair was definitely a fantasy and would never last. She hardly thought about the consequences, but did think about it from time to time. She regrets ever having the affair and says she will live with this guilt for the rest of her life. And here's where it gets interesting. The therapist asked me what would it take for me to consider my wife's proposal. Nothing came to mind. I was honest and told her a time machine, because what I have now is a sham of a marriage, and I never signed up for it. She told me all marriages face problems, ranging from infidelity to death. It's how those problems are dealt with that shows the strength of a marriage. I honestly could not believe where this conversation was headed, and I told the therapist to focus on my wife, not us. The therapist told me my inability to listen to logical reasoning might be a problem, communication-wise. I did not disagree. My wife and I had a long talk during the drive home. She questioned if I felt emasculated due to her affair, considering she had never asked me that before. I was genuinely surprised by the question. I answered yes. She shocked me by asking if I would feel better if I slept with other women. I laughed. That's a really bad question to ask me, considering I'm not as much into that lifestyle and I always strive to be the faithful husband. And that's the end of the second part of this story. What do you think of the story so far? Let me know in the comment section.